Jimmy Fallon is no stranger to the spotlight, but what just happened has left everyone in complete shock. Behind the laughter and late-night charm, something serious has surfaced, and it's raising more questions than answers. How did a beloved TV host find himself at the center of a scandal that's shaking up the industry? This is a story full of twists and surprises. Keep watching to find out what went down and why it's turning heads everywhere. James Thomas Fallon, born on September 19, 1974 in Brooklyn, New York, is the son of Gloria and James W. Fallon. He has a diverse heritage with German, Norwegian, and Irish roots. Fallon's father spent his adolescence singing in street-corner doo-wop groups, then served in the Vietnam War. Shortly after his birth, his family moved to Saugerties, New York, where his father worked for IBM. Fallon described his childhood as idyllic but overprotected, spending much of his time at home with his older sister, Gloria. Jimmy Fallon grew up in a Catholic household, hardly surprising when you consider his mother's somewhat unique background. "My mom was a nun at one point. Isn't that bizarre?" Fallon revealed during a visit to the Howard Stern show. According to Fallon, his mother wasn't married to the church for all that long. "For like a week," he said. "But technically it counts." His parents, in fact, got together after she'd quit being a nun, leading Fallon to quip, "She married Jesus as her first husband," with co-host Robin Quivers interjecting, "and then cheated on him." Fallon revealed that he himself once flirted with joining the church as a priest by becoming an altar boy. "I loved it. I really got into it," he shared on the radio show of his ambitions, but admitted that the notion didn't survive beyond the 8th grade. Appearing at the New Yorker Festival, Fallon shared more memories of his near miss with the priesthood. "I loved the whole idea of it," Fallon said as reported. "I loved dressing up. I loved the smell of incense." Fallon explained that he has come to realize there were showbiz motivations behind his interest in becoming a priest. "It's my first experience on stage as an altar boy," he recounted. "You're on stage next to the priest. I'm a co-star." Once he moved on from the idea of the priesthood, young Jimmy Fallon set his sights on the entertainment industry. During an episode of The Tonight Show, Fallon displayed his 8th grade yearbook, open to a page in which his teacher made predictions about the futures of her students. The camera panned down the page to a photo of his younger self sitting in front of a computer. He read the teacher's prediction. "James Fallon will replace David Letterman on The Late Night Show." Fallon jokingly added, "I want to go to the racetrack with this teacher." Pretty close. By the time he hit adolescence, Fallon had become obsessed with Saturday Night Live. So intent was he to not miss even the tiniest nuance, he insisted on watching each episode alone. "I just didn't want anyone ruining my experience," he told in a show. "No small talk. I wanted to see the sketches, the new characters, what the angle was." His parents leniently allowed him to enhance his viewing experience by enjoying a few brewskis, despite his not being old enough to legally drink. "I'd just sit by myself and I would have a 6-pack of Pabst," he said. "I don't know if I made it all the way through the 6, but I'd just sit there and watch the show and tape it." During his teen years living in upstate New York, Jimmy Fallon discovered he had a talent for mimicry. One day, his mother was listening to the radio when she caught wind of a contest seeking the funniest undiscovered comedian in the Hudson Valley. It was at Bananas Comedy Club in Poughkeepsie, New York, and it was 2 or 3 minutes of an impression. "My mom said, 'Jimmy, you should do this because you do all of these voices in your bedroom and I can hear you.' And I'm like, 'What else can you hear because this is creepy?'" Fallon recalled in an interview. Fallon decided to give it a go. He put together a bit in which he impersonated 12 celebrities vying to be the spokesperson for a troll doll, and won. "I won a lot of money. I want to say like $500. So for 2 minutes of work, and I had been working since I was 13, that was so much money," Fallon recalled. "I freaked out and said, 'This is my future. This is it.' The cold hard truth was, no, you don't make $500 every 2 minutes. Encouraged, Fallon began signing up for talent shows and wound up honing his stand-up skills when he landed a gig as the MC at that same comedy club. "On weekends, I would do stand-up, adding more voices and then eventually adding music," he said. Nearly graduating from the College of St. Rose, Jimmy Fallon decided to drop out of college and move to Los Angeles to pursue a career in comedy. He spent his first few months there sleeping on a friend's couch until finding his footing. Fallon shared that he had taken improv classes at the Groundlings and felt fortunate for the opportunities he had while there. He mentioned getting to do many exciting things, including earning his first screen credit with a small role as a photographer in the Michael J. Fox sitcom Spin City. Interestingly, another future star may have been responsible for Fallon landing the gig. When Chris Evans appeared on The Tonight Show, the Avengers actor confirmed that he was working as an intern in the Spin City casting office at that time in 1998. "Did I give you your first job?" Evans asked. "I feel like I owe my whole career to you," Fallon joked. Looking back at his audition, Fallon recalled that he didn't do anything that special. Evans, however, pointed to the randomness of the casting process, remembering that he'd have a huge stack of envelopes containing headshots and resumes on his desk, from which his boss would pull out 2 or 3 and then toss the rest into the trash. "And you were just like, wow, this industry is brutal," Evans added. It wasn't long after booking his Spin City role that Jimmy Fallon landed an audition for Saturday Night Live. Fallon revealed that he auditioned at the comic strip in New York City, performing his troll doll act, but it was a complete failure as the audience reacted poorly. He shared that Tracy Morgan was ultimately chosen for the show instead of him. Fallon returned to Los Angeles, feeling as if his dream had slipped through his fingers. 1 year later, he was invited to audition again, but specifically instructed to lose the troll doll. Fallon recounted that he rewrote his act and returned to New York to audition for Saturday Night Live. Despite being warned that creator Lorne Michaels rarely laughs during auditions, Fallon was thrilled when his impression of Adam Sandler made Michaels laugh so hard that he put his head in his hands. Fallon described the moment as surreal, saying he felt like he was floating as he left the stage. Tina Fey also watched that audition and recounted that she realized immediately what Fallon could bring to the show. "He's one of 2 people I've ever seen who was completely ready to be on the show. Kristen Wiig is the other one," Fey told Vanity Fair. "And Jimmy was ready, like if there had been a show to do that night." One of Lorne Michaels' first Saturday Night Live edicts was to insist that the cast members not break character and laugh during a sketch, something that had become a staple of The Carol Burnett Show, but which Michaels felt was a ploy to elicit cheap laughs. Jimmy Fallon, however, became known for his frequent on-stage crack-ups, to the point that the act of breaking character has since come to be known as Jimmy Falloning. While audiences seemed to like it, his giggle fits weren't always appreciated by his co-stars. That was particularly true of Tracy Morgan. "That's taking all the attention off of everybody else and putting it on you like, 'Oh, look at me, I'm the cute one.'" Fallon explained in an interview that he never intended to break character during sketches, but often couldn't help himself. He emphasized that he always tried his best not to laugh and felt bad when it happened. However, his castmates like Will Ferrell and Molly Shannon began deliberately trying to make him laugh, knowing he was an easy target. Fallon acknowledged there were likely many sketches where he broke character that went unnoticed, but a few became famous for his reactions. One of the strangest footnotes in Jimmy Fallon's career was his short-lived side gig as a model. In fact, he was tapped to appear in some print advertisements for Calvin Klein in 2002. Fallon admitted he was surprised and thrilled when asked to model for Calvin Klein. He shared that as a comedian, he never considered himself particularly good-looking, so the opportunity felt surreal. Reflecting on the experience, he joked about wanting the billboard to be placed right over the Improv Comedy Club. Fallon resurrected his ad campaign in a 2019 Instagram post. "This was a great year for Calvin Klein," he wrote. He also displayed the pics on The Tonight Show, where he compared his Calvin Klein spread to that of guest Jamie Dornan. Dornan's ad features the 50 Shades of Grey star displaying his ripped physique while wearing only a pair of CK undies, while Fallon is fully clothed in his ad. "Since when does Calvin Klein make mechanics outfits? I couldn't have more clothes on," Fallon quipped. Fallon referenced his ad during a different bit for The Tonight Show, in which he wrote thank you notes. "Thank you, new Calvin Klein ad with Shawn Mendes, for being the second hottest Calvin Klein ad of all time," Fallon said with a smile as his ad appeared on screen. Jimmy Fallon has spent decades as a performer, and his urge to entertain is apparently one that he doesn't easily shut on and off. In fact, according to various reports, Fallon has been known to unleash his musical gifts, oftentimes when the cameras are off. One of those occasions was reported in 2013, when Fallon broke into song at the Old Stove Pub in the Hamptons, where he was filmed leading a raucous sing-along of Billy Joel's Piano Man. Fallon pulled a similar stunt while vacationing in the Bahamas. According to the Caribbean Journal, the comedian led a group of patrons to sing Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, accompanied by a piano player at the Greycliff Hotel and Restaurant in Nassau. He then sang a second Queen song, We Will Rock You, and then launched into a Backstreet Boys number. It turns out, The Tonight Show's love for musical segments, like the Wheel of Musical Impression series, stems from the host himself. Nicole Kidman's 2015 appearance on The Tonight Show proved to be exceptionally memorable when she revealed she was once interested in dating Jimmy Fallon, but he totally botched it. It all began when a friend called him up and said he was with Kidman, who wanted to meet with him about a potential role in her upcoming comedy, Bewitched. Fallon admitted he panicked when the friend told him they were 10 minutes away. During the conversation, Nicole Kidman surprised him by admitting that she had liked him at the time. Fallon, visibly shocked, blurted out in disbelief, asking if they had actually been on a date without him realizing it. According to Kidman's recollection, Fallon was a dud, hardly saying a word to her while they hung out at his apartment. Then she recalled that Fallon completely doused whatever tiny spark of romance that may have remained when he began playing a video game. It was bad, Kidman told the audience, remembering that after about 90 minutes she decided it was time to bail. I left and went, okay, no chemistry, she added. I thought maybe he's gay. Jimmy Fallon's 2005 comedy Fever Pitch was significant for a number of reasons. Not only did the film chronicle the Boston Red Sox winning the World Series for the first time in more than 80 years, but making the film was also how he came to know his future wife, Nancy Javonen. Javonen first met Fallon on the set of Saturday Night Live in 2004, while supporting her best friend, Drew Barrymore, when she hosted the show. While working as a producer on the film Fever Pitch in Boston, Nancy Javonen found herself developing a crush on Fallon. She later shared on The Tonight Show that the close-knit atmosphere on set felt like a camp, and Fallon's friendly, fun, and music-loving personality stood out to her. What truly won her over was seeing him play joyfully with the young children of another producer, which she said melted her heart even more. They got married in 2007 and welcomed 2 daughters, Winnie Rose, born in 2013, and Frances Cole, who arrived in 2014. Viewers came to know Fallon's wife and kids when he presented The Tonight Show from his home during the pandemic, with Javonen operating the camera and their daughters often serving as guests. Jimmy's life was on a steady course, but the loss of his mother shattered him. He was deeply heartbroken by the loss of his mother, Gloria Fallon, who passed away after a battle with cancer. The comedian canceled his NBC nightly program for a week following the death of his mother, Gloria Fallon, who passed away with her son by her side. Jimmy Fallon made an emotional tribute to his late mother in an episode of The Tonight Show. Fallon then fought back tears as he recounted a story about his mother. When we were little, my mom would walk us to the store, me and my sister, and we would hold hands, and she would squeeze my hand 3 times and say, I love you, and I would squeeze back, I love you too. Last week I was in the hospital at her side, and I grabbed her hand and I squeezed, I love you, and I just knew we were in trouble, Fallon said with his voice breaking. He went on to thank fans for all the support he and his family had received since his mother's death. The presenter said everyone at the show would continue to work really hard to bring some light and some laughter into the world. He finished by promising his mother, Mom, I'll never stop trying to make you laugh. One of the show's producers also took to Twitter to pay his own respects to the late Gloria Fallon. Mike DiCenzo described her as the best, adding she was well loved by many of the production team, who he says were devastated after learning she had passed away. He said listening to Jimmy's tribute to his mother brought him, as well as many others, to tears. The producer said, Jimmy's words about his mom were beautiful. Mom, I'll never stop trying to make you laugh. I love you. I was crying. We all were. In 2021, Jimmy Fallon was named in a lawsuit alongside his former Saturday Night Live castmates Horatio Sanz and Tracy Morgan, as well as the show's creator Lorne Michaels, in connection with accusations of sexual assault and grooming of a minor. The plaintiff, identified as Jane Doe, recounted her experiences at various Saturday Night Live after-parties, where she claimed that Fallon introduced her to Lorne Michaels and reminded him of her website. She alleged that Sands inappropriately touched her at these parties, and she stated that Fallon and others were aware of what was happening. While none of the accused, including Fallon, publicly addressed the case was ultimately dismissed without prejudice in November 2022. In September 2023, Rolling Stone published a shocking exposé based on interviews with more than a dozen former and current staffers of The Tonight Show. Those staffers alleged that Fallon had created a toxic workplace behind the scenes. Allegations were published from 2 current and 14 former employees, including production crew and writers, who requested anonymity out of fear of retaliation. Rolling Stone claimed they had approached an additional 80 current and former employees, but not a single one agreed to speak on the record or had positive things to say about working on The Tonight Show. According to Rolling Stone's report, multiple sources alleged Fallon had a history of outbursts and lashing out at staff when under pressure, that previous senior staff on the show had bullied and belittled them, and that guests' dressing rooms were commonly known as cry rooms, where employees could go let out their stress. One former staff member explained that no one ever told Fallon no, and there was always uncertainty about which version of him they would encounter on any given day. If he was in a bad mood, the atmosphere on set would become tense, with employees avoiding casual conversation and trying to stay focused on their tasks to avoid triggering any outbursts. Representatives for Jimmy Fallon declined to comment on the allegations about his behavior when approached by Rolling Stone. However, an NBC spokesperson responded to the magazine, stating that, like any workplace, there have been instances where employees raised concerns. The spokesperson added that these issues were investigated and appropriate action was taken when necessary. A former staff member told Rolling Stone that they would have appreciated an apology, either from NBC or Jimmy Fallon himself, directed towards the former staff. They believed that it would have been the most accountable and responsible course of action, especially considering the high turnover since Fallon took over The Tonight Show and the fact that many of those who spoke up about the issues no longer worked on the show. Later, Fallon responded to the allegations from that article, but in private. "It's embarrassing and I feel so bad," Fallon told his staff, according to some who spoke with Rolling Stone. "Sorry if I embarrassed you and your family and friends. I feel so bad I can't even tell you." Despite all controversies, Jimmy Fallon's legacy is defined by his unique blend of humor, charm, and musical talent, making The Tonight Show a platform for both comedy and heartfelt moments. As a late-night icon, he redefined celebrity interviews and brought a playful, relatable energy to television.